praticamente viene svolto con la massima.
We do not do anything in a hurry. There are really no time limits. Every person is given the time they need to do their job.
In large mass-produced motorcycle factories, an entire bike can be built in 1 hour. At MV AGUSTA, it takes 11 hours just to build one engine, and that's on a good day. The focus isn't on how long it takes to build the engine. The focus is on how well the engine performs once it's finished. The final step in the engine assembly plant is to run the new motor, and run it hard.
Processo produttivo, tutti I motori vengono collaudati al 100% su questi banchi.
At the end of the assembly process, all the engines are tested 100% on testing tables. We have an automatic procedure. The operator places the engine on a cart. There are different steps of the testing procedures where the engine is run from minimum to maximum power, and we verify all the main parameters of the engine. We keep a database for each engine where we store all the information for every motorcycle, including the old ones. We have all the performance data for every engine we build.
Finished engines are taken crosstown by trucks to the Casanetta factory, where final assembly takes place.
The assembly starts when the new engines arrive here. Every 2 hours, there is a shuttle that transfers the engines and carries them here to the final assembly line.
The first thing they do on the final assembly line is to give each new motorcycle its own vehicle identification number. They use a special machine that works like a dot matrix computer printer, except this printer prints on steel.
La prima fase dell'assemblaggio in linea.
The frame is brought here and placed on this machine that takes care of stamping it with the ID number. Here we have sheets with barcodes that establishes the daily production. So the operator accurately follows the daily process and production schedule.
A special clear coat sealer is applied over the new engraving, and then stickers added. There's one final check to make sure all the identification numbers are the same. With that necessary formality completed, it's time to build the bike. Each new bike will be followed down the assembly line by a special yellow cart. The cart is actually the design of engineers from Porsche.
Quella che abbiamo visto fino ad ora è la fase di prelinea.
From here, the real assembly line begins. The cart and the motorcycle are placed onto the line, one after the other, and the final assembly process begins.
Each cart holds all the pieces needed to build one particular bike. The carts make the assembly line remarkably efficient. At MV, they can build whatever model they want, whenever they want it.
We can mix one Brutale, one F4, one Claudio Castiglioni. In principle, in principle. Dicevo, questo è l'inizio della catena.
This is the beginning of the assembly line. In this section, we mount the suspension, which includes the handlebars and the front brakes. We also install the bike's electrical system. For each station, there is one person. We prefer to keep one person at the same station, even if they are capable of working on other parts of the assembly line. We think that it improves quality and safety.
There are 16 main stations along the final assembly line, compared to as many as 50 at mass-produced motorcycle factories. And it takes more time for the final assembly line at MV AGUSTA, about 4 hours per bike compared to an hour at larger motorcycle companies.
Facciamo la sistemazione, quindi il
Here, we put in place and fit the remaining electrical components. We mount the headlight and the dashboard, and we put on the chain. There is no rushing or time restrictions, because we want to make sure that people have enough time to do their job properly.
Solo che la moto è più avanti.
Here we can see the motorcycle with more pieces added, including the radiator and cooling system. It may seem that the first phases of final assembly are the most difficult because there's a lot of parts being assembled. What's harder to see are the later phases of building the bike, when we focus on checking that everything has been properly installed. Those checks are very complex and highly detailed.
La moto qui è finita, la moto viene scaricata e viene portata.
This is the end of the assembly line process, where the motorcycle is complete. A very important process for us is the identification paperwork that goes along with the motorcycle. At every step, each employee who works on the bike has to stop and sign a quality control form.
This technician uses a dynamometer, a special machine that measures engine power and performance to run each new bike through its paces. Once the technician is satisfied, he too will sign his name to the checklist. For most companies, this is the last step in the process, but not at MV AGUSTA, where personal pride and passion are forever linked with an obsession for perfection.
Proprio l'ultimissima fase che viene in questa azienda.
Technically, the new motorcycle is ready to ship, but there is one more important step. We call it cold quality control. Another person who had no part in building the bike looks it over as one last check. It is another set of eyes looking for any imperfections or anything else that may have happened during construction but was not caught on the actual assembly.
Unlike most factories where finished motorcycles slip quietly out back doors almost unnoticed, at the Casanetta factory, all the new bikes sit proudly on display right inside the front doors. It's almost as if the factory staff wants one last chance to admire their work before the bikes leave the factory.
I think that everybody that works in this company, on the production line, they don't feel like a worker of a production line, but they feel like a craftsman, how do you say in English? Like, how do you say, artigiano?
Artisan.
Artisan, yeah, artisan. That's the way they feel.